Takashi Kamuro and his childhood friend Rei Miyamoto are socially separated at the start of the semester. When he goes outside to mope, he sees a zombie known as them attack the front of the school. Takashi goes to warn Rei and his best friend Hisashi Aigo, who is dating her, and flees with them just as word of the attack spreads throughout the school, causing panic. The three run into Mr. Wakasaka, a teacher turned zombie, that bites Hisashi in the arm before Takashi kills it by smashing its head. They barricade themselves on the rooftop to witness self-defense force helicopters flying in to combat the zombie outbreak in the city, oblivious to the carnage in the school. Hisashi begins succumbing to his injury and Takashi is forced to kill him, despite Rei's objections. Rei insults Takashi, and he almost leaves to face them alone. After she apologizes, Rei and Takashi embrace briefly. Surviving students scream while being chased by zombies inside a hallway. Seiya and Hirano watch them flee and make their escape. A delusional student, bitten by a zombie, approaches one only to be eaten. Hirano asks Seiya where they are going, and he suggests going to the staff room. Seiya stops and asks him if he wants to die or live. Seiya then tells him that other people had the same idea as he suggested, and it shows 6 students banging on the staff room begging for the teachers to let them in. Unfortunately, 2 of them walk out and attack the students, and Seiya tells him that she wants to live and tells him to move it. At the observatory platform, Takashi is sitting watching Hisashi's corpse. Rei asks Takashi for his phone and tells him that even though the emergency line is busy, her father gave her a number that should only be used for emergencies. She puts the number in and connects to her father, who thinks that Takashi is calling him due to the address coming from his phone, and tells her that the city is in a state of panic and they need to get out immediately before the line disconnects. Due to the undead outside on the rooftop, they decide to break out using a water hose. Back in the hallways, the zombies drag other undead corpses and/or consume them. Hirano asks Seiya if she has her phone and suggests calling the police, but she tells him that other people had already done the same thing and that they hadn't heard any sirens yet. He then suggests calling the SDF, but like always, she tells him they are probably in the same situation and not much of Japan's population of 130 million are aligned with them. After one of them spots the 2, they quickly leave. Seiya is upset that she is stuck with him since Kamuro ran off during the panic. In the nurse's office, Kazu watches as his friend Okada reanimates. He panics and grabs an Roman 4 pole, bashing Okada's head and apologizes for doing so. Shizuka, somewhat aware of the situation now, says to herself she cannot contact the police or fire department and grabs medicinal supplies. Even though she is a nurse, she quickly reasons that those who become bitten cannot be saved and reanimate after death. Several of them break into the medical office and Kazu tries to fend them off, but is quickly overpowered. He tells her to run, but she is unable to as she doesn't remember his name, to his surprise. Several more surround Shizuka, but Siko kills them all before they can do so. She introduces herself to Kazu and asks for his name. After knowing his name, she asks him if he knows what happens when people get bitten, and he already knows it. She asks him if he does not want his friends or family to see him as one of them. She offers to kill him, which he gladly accepts. 2 more zombies break into the office, but are easily dispatched. Elsewhere, in the school's workshops, Seiya asks Hirano if he is one of those military nerds or gun freaks. Hirano finds a nail gun, and the undead have heard the door being shut and are outside the workshop doors. Hirano finds an extra gas container and nails in the box, his personality changing into a serious tone. He deduces that the nail gun weighs 9 pounds, similar to an old assault rifle, and will need a sight to shoot the nail gun properly with his current stance. He quickly builds a makeshift sight from planks of wood, a pencil, erasers, and tape while they break in. The undead are about to overwhelm Seiya when Hirano kills one of them with his makeshift gun. At the rooftops, Takashi asks Rei if she is ready with their plan. He struggles to control the water hose at first, but eventually does and points it at them outside, which kills them due to the high pressure of the water. Back at the workshop, Hirano asks Seiya to grab the extra nails into a bag, which she objects due to her view of him. After watching his grimacing smile, she immediately obliges. As more undead surround them, he prepares to shoot them with the nail gun. Takashi asks Rei if they are ready to re-enter the building as it will be rough inside. She later asks him where they are going, and he tells her they are going back to their homes and help survivors along the way. They realize that it sounds like a good idea as Rei's father is capable of defending himself, while Takashi's father is away and his mother is at an elementary school. He then shudders as it isn't a laughing matter as he has an idea of what the outbreak is like in his mother's school. Transition to another hallway where Seiya throws a wet rag on one of them. Hirano asks her what she is doing, and she tells him to watch, throwing another wet rag on nearby lockers. The undead student hears the noise and bangs his head on the lockers. She deduces that they ignore pain but react to sound, and that they cannot see as their example showed that he wouldn't have run into the lockers if he could. Several of them, who have overheard their conversation, approach them and the two escape. At another hallway, Shizuka asks Siko to go to the staff room as the faculty members keep their car keys there. She asks her why she doesn't kill them, and Siko responds that it could constrict their movement and result in them being surrounded by the undead while doing so. Siko later rips part of Shizuka's skirt, saying that it would make running more efficient despite her protests. They later hear screaming along with Takashi and Rei who run towards the source of the sound. Hirano asks Seiya to throw him some nails as he is running out, but she is unable to as one of them approaches her. She grabs a drill and impales its head, killing it while the four who came to her aid watch. Everyone but Shizuka kills the remaining undead. Seiya later says that she can do anything once she puts her mind to it, but ends up crying shortly afterwards. Siko comforts her while the others watch. After the credits, the 6 remaining survivors think of a way to escape, deciding upon the bus. After that, Takashi relays the plan to everybody, telling them that they will make sure their families are all right, and then find somewhere safe. Then the news comes on and the survivors watch in horror of how the city is plagued with zombies. The survivors are shocked to learn that the zombie pandemic has spread worldwide. After encountering another group of survivors, Takashi tests a theory on avoiding the zombies based on how they can only react to sound. However, when one of the survivors accidentally makes a sound, they have to fight through a horde on the way to the bus, losing some survivors in the process. When they spot another group of survivors approaching, Rei recognizes one of the teachers, Mr. Shido, and is hesitant about letting him on board. After breaking out of the school, Rei becomes defiant about Shido appointing himself as the leader and runs off the bus. As Takashi goes after her, a bus filled with zombies crashes and traps them in a tunnel, forcing them to meet up with the other survivors later. After defeating a biker zombie, Takashi and Rei find its motorbike and head towards the city. Takashi and Rei continues moving through the city until they encounter a police car. With the occupants dead, Rei searches the vehicle and gathers an expandable baton, a revolver, and some bullets. Later they start to run out of gas and stop at a gas station. As Takashi goes to a cash register nearby to operate the gas pump, Rei is attacked by an insane survivor who holds her hostage. Takashi quickly shoots him up close and Rei breaks free and leaves the survivor to die in the hands of the incoming zombies. With their bike refueled, Takashi and Rei begin moving again. Takashi thinks about how it's only been a day since the outbreak and he has already killed a man. At Kansai International Airport, Rika Minami and her squad from the SAD helps in the evacuation of civilians by clearing zombies at the runway. Meanwhile, after escaping from a war zone between mad survivors and zombies, Takashi and Rei learns all of the bridges have been blocked by the police and military to prevent infected civilians from coming in. Realizing nothing good is gained by staying with Shido, Seiya, Koda, Siko, and Shizuka leaves the bus after Koda persuades him and heads to Onbetsu Bridge where they encounter more zombies. Just when they are cornered, Takashi and Rei some badass motorcycle skills and save the day. Takashi hands the gun over to Koda as he is familiar to long-range weapons. Needing a place to stay for the night, Shizuka suggests they stay at her friend Rika's apartment where a Humvee is parked outside. With zombies infesting around the building, the group heads inside and fights them. With the apartment cleared, The girls refresh themselves in the bath, whilst Takashi and Kota check the weapons and ammunition in the household as Hirano suggests peeking in the bath. Meanwhile, the police at the blockade are coming under pressure from both the zombies and the civilians trying to escape them, including a group of protesters led by a conspiracy theorist who believes the epidemic is a biological weapon of the US and Japanese government. With no help coming from headquarters, the police are ordered to use deadly force to maintain order at the blockade. Back at the apartment, Takashi has to deal with a drunk Shizuka, who sexually teases him and Kota. After an argument between them, Rei starts to come on to Takashi, but he holds her back. Just then, a dog starts barking outside, which starts to attract the zombies. Whilst Takashi and others keep their lights low whilst surveying the situation, a man tries to find shelter for his daughter, Alice Mercado, but is killed by paranoid survivors. When Alice's screams attract the zombies, Takashi decides to go to rescue her whilst Kota provides sniper support. Meanwhile, the girls, deciding they can no longer stay at the apartment, prepare to load up to move on. With the streets filled with zombies, Takashi, along with Alice and a small dog, carefully crosses the top of the fence until the others arrive to help him. Once reunited, they decide to head towards the other side of the river. Zombies manage to infiltrate Air Force One. With Washington, D.C. in flames and the chairman and the president infected, the chairman begs the president to launch their Ike bombs before the other countries will launch theirs at the S and is finished off before he turns into a zombie. The chairman also states that the plane has nowhere safe to land. Meanwhile, Takashi's group reaches the other side of the river, where there doesn't appear to be any civilians or zombies. After changing and getting familiar with new weapons, they decide to head towards Seiya's house first since it's the closest. They start to find more zombies as they approach their destination, and an unexpected wire barrier causes Rei to fall off the Humvee. The others have to deal with unfamiliar weapons and their own courage in order to fend off the zombies. Outnumbered, Takashi and Siko try to lead them away, but they are still drawn towards the others' direction. As things look bad, they are assisted by a group of firefighters led by Seiya's mother, whilst Takashi and Siko take a different route. Takashi and Siko acquire an amphibious vehicle to help evade the zombies and set up on a sandbank in the middle of the river. Later, they ditch their vehicle in a park fountain to lure the zombies whilst Siko attacks them. However, Siko freezes when she comes across some zombified children, forcing Takashi to help her. They decide to camp out at a shrine, where Siko reveals that, 4 years ago, she almost killed a rapist and enjoyed it, saying she hasn't changed since that day and doesn't deserve love. Takashi responds by apparently kissing her and her accepting it as the scene blacks out. Arriving safely at Seiya's house, Takashi admits to himself that he accepted Siko because he, obviously, did this in order to survive. Having spent a day at Seiya's house, the group needs to decide if they should stick with her family and staff or go off on their own. Seiya is angry at her father for presuming she was dead and giving up on her, but Takashi gets enraged and snaps at her knowing she's lucky knowing her parents are alive, and she calms down. Just then, Seiya's father, Suikairo, arrives and executes his zombified friend in front of a crowd to show their current situation. Frustrated, Kota argues with the others about the inefficiency of swords and runs off, eventually getting in trouble for trying to take some guns, saying he needs them to avoid going back to the way he was. When Suikairo asks what good Kota can do, the rest of the gang backs him up. Shido is seen on the bus preaching to his followers that they are free of the taint and are the future. The bus sets out for the Takagi estate. Seiya, Kota, and Takashi are attempting to talk to the unruly people in a tent at the estate. The people think Suikairo is lying, and that they can be cured. Seiya eventually gives up. Siko is seen sitting with Suikairo. He gives her a very rare katana, saying it is to repay her father for teaching him. Takashi and Rei are sitting together on a bed. Takashi is doubting his position in the group, and Rei makes him feel better, saying she wants to be with him and would do anything for him. She sees Siko in the hall and asks her to talk to Takashi. Rei and Takashi are preparing to leave and Siko decides to join them. Shido then shows up at the house, thinking about how his father was a corrupt politician who made him hold back Rei to get back at her father. Rei sees him and runs over to him, sticking her bayonet in his face. She decides not to kill him, and Shido and his group are then banned from the Takagi estate. A scene is shown with two US Navy officers aboard the US submarine Alabama, who get an order to fire their nuclear missiles from the president. Later, the explosions are seen by astronauts on a space station, who state that Armageddon has begun. The US and Japanese naval forces are forced to team up to shoot down Chinese missile strikes, as China has launched a mix of its DF-21 ballistic missile variants in retaliation to the now-failed American preemptive nuclear strikes. However, one missile manages to penetrate through the joinous Japanese air defenses, exploding somewhere in Japan. Due to the EMP burst from the nuclear explosion, machines and electronics near the blast break down, which causes Shido's bus to crash and destroy one of the barricades. With a giant horde of zombies coming to the mansion, Soichiro orders the main gate to be closed, but the overwhelming zombies breach the gate, causing panic among the survivors. Even the people who opposed Soichiro and heckled Seiya, Koda, and Takashi in the previous episode were killed. With the mansion no longer safe, the Takagis order their followers and the remaining survivors to fight and head to another safe area that has yet to be breached. The Takagis leave Seiya's safety to Takashi and the group as they fight to their Humvee, which was not affected by the EMP. With their ride fixed, the group leaves the mansion while the survivors fight off the horde. Despite the situation, the group remains optimistic as they finally arrive at a mall by foot. This is the end of my video, so please watching all of my anime recap series. Thanks for watching.